My name is Cristine Legare. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of Texas at Austin. The anthropologist Evans Pritchard studied the Zonde of North Central Africa. In an ethnographic account, he stated, "In Zonde land, sometimes an old granary collapses, and there is nothing remarkable in this. Every Zonde knows that termites eat the supports, and over the course of time, woods decay. A granary is the summer house of a Zonde homestead, and people sit beneath it in the heat of the day. Consequently, people may be sitting beneath the granary when it collapses, and they may be injured. Now, why should these particular people have been sitting underneath this granary at the moment it collapsed? That it should collapse is easily intelligible, but why should it have collapsed at the moment when these people were sitting beneath it? The Zonde understand that termite damage combined with the granary's own weight cause the structure to collapse, and that on a hot day, people might well be sitting beneath it. One could say that it was a coincidence of events, two chains of causation intersected at a certain time and in a certain place. Yet for the Zonde, the question of multiple causality remains. Why these people at this moment and at this place? The question is not simply one of how, but of why. To answer the question of why, the Zonde supplement their naturalistic explanations of the collapse of the granary by invoking supernatural forces. Witchcraft is used to explain the unfortunate presence of the victims. Access to natural as well as supernatural explanations is not confined to the Zonde. It is a pervasive experience across different cultures. For example, both biological and supernatural explanations for the transmission and cure of serious illnesses are prevalent. For example, in sub-Saharan Africa, although information about the transmission of the AIDS virus is widely available via health and education programs, supernatural accounts of infection based on witchcraft are common. Finally, although people must confront the biological inevitability and finality of death for all living creatures, in many religious traditions, they are also invited to believe in the prospect of an afterlife, at least for human beings. I study how people use, accommodate, and reconcile natural and supernatural explanations for the same events. In both lay and scientific writing, natural or scientific explanations on the one hand and supernatural or religious explanations on the other are often pitted against each other with the assumption that scientific explanations may eventually prevail due to their superiority at providing empirically testable explanations. This view is also implied in the secularization hypothesis, which states that as science and technology advance, they will increasingly displace religious or supernatural explanations. An alternative to this displacement account is that natural and supernatural explanations do not overlap because they are used to explain different types of phenomena. However, contrary to the displacement account and in contrast to non-overlap, a substantial amount of psychological research demonstrate that these two explanatory frameworks often coexist within the same individual and may both be recruited even with respect to the same phenomenon. Thus, although often conceptualized in contradictory terms, the common assumption that natural and supernatural explanations are incompatible is psychologically inaccurate. Instead, there is considerable evidence that the same individuals use both natural and supernatural explanations to interpret the very same events, and that there are multiple ways in which both kinds of explanations coexist in individual minds. In response to a question about a single event, individuals might recruit different explanatory frameworks in various ways. One possibility is that natural and supernatural explanations describe alternative views of the world. Even if both are recruited to provide a coherent explanation of a given phenomenon, they're used to explain distinct aspects of that phenomenon, depending on the particular kind of response or causal attribution. This is called target-dependent thinking. For example, a natural explanation such as the HIV virus contracted through unprotected sex, may be used to explain why people get AIDS in some circumstances, and witchcraft may be used to explain why people get AIDS in other circumstances. A second possibility is that natural and supernatural frameworks are brought together to explain a given event. In this type of thinking, two different forms of explanation are invoked. Such dual explanations may invoke a loose integration of natural and supernatural explanations, but without any detailed consideration for exactly how they would interact. This is called synthetic thinking. For example, in the case of AIDS, both natural and supernatural explanations are used, but not in a clearly integrated manner. Thus, one might invoke both witchcraft and unsafe sexual practices to explain why a particular person contracted AIDS, but really without specifying how they might fit together. A third possibility is that explanations are combined in a more precise fashion, and we refer to such cases of well-coordinated explanations as integrative or integrated thinking. Integration can be achieved by using natural and supernatural explanations for different levels of analysis. For example, a natural cause can be regarded as proximate, and a supernatural cause as ultimate. In the case of AIDS, unprotected sex is regarded as a proximate cause, whereas witchcraft is the ultimate cause. So witches might have distorted your judgment and put an HIV-infected person in your path. Now, research on explanatory coexistence calls for the reevaluation of the standard assumption that natural and supernatural explanations compete in individual minds. Developmental data of children spanning diverse cultural contexts in a variety of domains, ranging from illness to death to human origins, do not support replacement models. Natural explanations do not necessarily replace supernatural explanations following gains in knowledge, education, and technology. Instead, natural and supernatural explanations often provide distinct, complementary causal information. Contrary to traditional accounts of cognitive development, new evidence indicates that supernatural explanations often increase rather than decrease with age, and support the proposal that reasoning about supernatural phenomena is an integral and enduring aspect of human cognition.